You know, usually when we look at how the world works, there's this really comforting illusion of a master control room.
Right, the idea that someone, somewhere, is pulling the levers.
Exactly. You pull lever A and result B just reliably happens. It's clean,
Yeah.
it's predictable. We really like feeling that massive global systems are ultimately under control.
But then you look at modern geopolitics,
Yeah.
or the physical constraints of artificial intelligence,
Yeah.
or even our domestic infrastructure.
Yeah.
And suddenly that control room feels, well, entirely empty.
Or worse, I mean, you realize the levers aren't even connected to the machine anymore.
That is a terrifying thought.
Right. It is the absolute definition of systemic muddy waters, and that is exactly what we are exploring today. Because for you, the listener, who wants to stay insanely well-informed without drowning in the daily info overload, well, this deep dive is just the perfect case study.
It really is.
We are unpacking a stack of news excerpts from the Daily Tech Reader for Saturday, June 20, 2026. We're going to look at how massive global forces are quietly and sometimes very loudly reshaping everything from our economy to our entertainment.
And we're starting right in the thick of it.
We are. Okay, let's unpack this. The headlines coming out of the Middle East right now are incredibly heavy, starting right at the intersection of energy and global politics. Vice President J.D. Vance just flew into Switzerland for nuclear talks.
Yeah, and he's joining Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff there.
Right. And the backdrop to these diplomatic talks is just intense.
Very intense. I mean, they are negotiating against the immediate backdrop of a renewed Israel-Hezbollah ceasefire.
Which is fragile, to say the least.
Exactly. And this comes just after some very deadly Israeli strikes in southern Lebanon in the Bekaa Valley. Lebanese health authorities are reporting at least 47 casualties there.
God.
And that includes women and children. So that is the visceral reality on the ground that these diplomats are trying to navigate right now.
And in direct response to that fighting in Lebanon, Iran steps up and, makes this massive declaration. They announced they are closing the Strait of Hormuz.
Which is huge.
Massive. I mean, for anyone listening who needs a quick geography refresher, the Strait of Hormuz is essentially the jugular vein of the global oil supply. Roughly a fifth of the world's daily oil consumption passes through that narrow waterway.
A fifth of the world's oil. Think about that.
But wait, I'm a bit confused because if Iran officially declares the strait closed, and the sources say there are an estimated 80 naval mines blocking the central channel.
Yeah, 80 mines.
How is the U.S. military reporting that 55 merchant ships still transited the strait on Saturday alone?
It's wild, isn't it?
Like they moved over 17 million barrels of oil. Is this closure just a bluff? Or what is going on?
What's fascinating here is how global supply chains learn to route around geopolitical posturing, even when the threat of escalation is highly, highly real.
Well, they just ignore it.
Well, the market isn't reacting to a hermetic seal of the strait because you physically cannot put a concrete wall across the ocean.
Right.
Those 55 ships are still moving because the economic incentive to move 17 million barrels of oil is simply too massive to stop.
So they're literally dodging mines.
I guess they navigate the shallower edges, they rely on military escorts, and they basically accept the danger of those 80 naval mines.
But to keep the global economy fueled like that, I mean, that has to cost something, right? You can't just sail through a minefield for free.
No, absolutely not. And that is where the friction comes in. You know, Brent crude oil prices have been pushed back up above $80 a barrel right now.
Oh, right, because of the risk.
Exactly. That price spike is the market pricing and the friction. It's the skyrocketing cost of maritime insurance. It's the hazard pay for the crews. It's the sheer geopolitical anxiety of the whole situation.
Wow.
And when you synthesize this with the U.S. administration's response, I mean, President Trump is threatening to impose U.S. tolls on the shipping lane if a final deal with Tehran isn't reached.
Tolls on the shipping lane.
Right. So you see a broader pattern here. We are watching systems operate with immense friction in the muddy waters of that illusion of control we talked about.
It's like a massive global game of Jenga.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like one block gets pulled in Lebanon and it rattles a shipping lane in Hormuz, which bumps up the price of gas for someone, driving to work here around the world.
The connections are immediate.
But the tower hasn't fallen. Yet, if we take our eyes off the geopolitical map of the Middle East and look at a map of local data centers,
Yeah.
there's a completely different type of resource war happening right here at home to power the future.
It's a bottleneck entirely focused on feeding the tech beast.
Yeah.
We treat the digital world as if it just exists in the ether, but the physical demands of the cloud are hitting a hard reality.
Exactly. Isn't it wild that we are obsessing over oil barrels in the Strait of Hormuz? But the new oil that might actually tap out our local infrastructure is like the cooling water for AI data centers.
It's a complete shift in what we consider a critical resource.
Yeah. I mean, our sources show the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, FERC, is having to step in to fast-track data center power requests. They are aiming for a 90-day target.
Just to clear out what has become a multi-year backlog for AI infrastructure.
Multi-year. That's crazy.
And FERC isn't just speeding up the power grid connections, they're also demanding new disclosures for AI data centers regarding their cooling water usage.
Why the focus on water specifically?
To understand why this matters, you have to look at the mechanism of AI compute. Running thousands of advanced chips simultaneously generates an incredible amount of heat.
Right, they run super hot.
Exactly. So to keep those servers from melting down, facilities use evaporative cooling systems, and those systems can consume millions of gallons of fresh, potable local water.
Millions of gallons.
Yes. So regulators are suddenly waking up to the massive physical footprint of artificial intelligence.
Meanwhile, the race to build the next generation of computing isn't, slowing down to wait for the grid to catch up.
Not at all.
Like Oxford Quantum Circuits just announced a €92 million investment to build their first EU hub in Barcelona.
Yeah, that's supposed to create over 200 jobs.
And at the exact same time, IQM is deploying a U.S. quantum computer at Oak Ridge.
The quantum computing race is heating up globally, adding even more pressure to our energy grids. But, and this is the kicker, power and water are just the physical bottlenecks.
Right.
The digital tools used to write this new code are buckling under the weight too.
Okay, yes, that brings us to the GitHub situation, which is wild.
It really is.
So our sources note that GitHub, which for anyone who doesn't know is like the foundational platform where developers build, collaborate on, and store software code, it's experiencing severe ongoing degradation.
Just falling apart at the seams.
They are sitting at about 88.4% availability. I mean, that translates to almost 3 hours of downtime every single day.
And when developers are complaining about intermittent access and pipeline failures, it means the assembly line of the digital economy is just stalling out.
But why now? What's breaking it?
Well, the mechanism behind this is likely the sheer volume of automation. With the rise of AI coding assistants, you have non-stop automated pull requests and commits just hammering legacy infrastructure.
Yeah, because it's bots doing it, not humans.
Exactly. The architecture simply wasn't built to handle autonomous agents writing and checking code 24/7.
It's gotten so bad that Microsoft is actually having to route traffic through Amazon Web Services just to keep things afloat.
Rivals having to lean on each other.
Yeah. So we are racing toward this hyper-advanced AI and quantum future, but the essential tools we use to build that future are currently propped up by, temporary patches and workarounds.
The digital choke points are just as real as the physical ones. And the sheer cost of trying to build out this infrastructure while keeping the old systems running, it's creating a massive distortion field in the broader financial markets.
I'm really glad you brought that up because the sheer volume of money required to fund this tech build-out is doing very strange things to Wall Street.
Very strange.
Retail investors are absolutely driving a massive post-IPO rally for SpaceX. SPCX saw $370 million in net buying in just the first week of trading.
$370 million in a week.
Small, individual buyers are coordinating on social media forums, and they are completely ignoring the institutional analysts who are screaming that the stock is overvalued.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what we are witnessing is a phenomenon called capital absorption.
Okay, break that down for me.
Imagine the market as a finite pool of water. Suddenly, a massive news sponge is dropped into the pool. SpaceX's record debut, the anticipation of OpenAI's pending S1 filing to officially go public.
Oh yeah, everyone is waiting for that.
Right. And even the unsettling nature of the New York Attorney General's subpoena into tech firms. All of this is absorbing the capital that would traditionally flow safely into established large-cap tech.
Oh, so that explains the other side of the coin. The Magnificent Seven tech giants, the Apples, Microsofts, and Amazons of the world, they collectively lost roughly $2 trillion in market cap in June. The gravitational pull of the new AI and space frontier is so strong, it's draining $2 trillion from the biggest companies on Earth. Institutional logic is being completely overridden by retail momentum.
And this gravity extends way beyond Wall Street. I mean, it is bleeding directly into culture.
How so?
Well, our sources highlight that Amazon MGM Studios just dropped a mostly finished film by director Luca Guadagnino.
Mostly finished. Why?
The reason is controversy surrounding its connection to Sam Altman. Given Amazon's $50 billion investment deal with OpenAI, the lines between corporate tech alliances and Hollywood creative decisions are just blurring.
Wow.
The AI economy is quite literally dictating which movies get released.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. We are seeing AI change how stories are told, but also how we consume reality itself. Have you seen the Reuters Institute's 2026 report?
What about chatbots? Yeah.
It found that 10% of people globally now use AI chatbots as a weekly news source.
That is a staggering structural shift in media consumption. It completely changes the pipeline of information.
It does, but I have to push back on the viability of this whole system, because the Reuters report also noted that only 4% of people regularly click through to the original news articles.
Only 4%.
Right. If an AI is scraping original journalism to synthesize these answers, but nobody is actually clicking the links to visit the news sites, who is going to fund the journalism?
That's the million-dollar question.
The publishers rely on site traffic for ad revenue, right? And subscriptions to pay the reporters who actually uncover the news. It feels like tech is eating its own tail here.
You've hit on the core existential crisis of the information age right there. The chatbot acts as a perfect synthesis engine. It removes the friction of browsing.
Right.
But that friction, the clicks, the page views, the ad impressions, that is the underlying economic mechanism of the free press. We are building optimization systems that effectively route around the original creators of the information.
Which starves them.
Exactly. It starves them of the capital they need to produce the data the AI relies on in the first place.
So we have trillions of dollars flowing into space exploration, quantum computing hubs, and AI models that hallucinate news. But when we look at the daily reality for people on the ground here at home, the contrast is jarring.
Very jarring.
There are some serious structural cracks showing in our domestic foundation.
The disconnect in how societies allocate attention and resources becomes glaringly obvious when you look at the physical and legal infrastructure at the local level.
Let's look at the physical realities first. There is a persistent, brutal heat dome parked right over the Dallas-Fort Worth area this Father's Day weekend.
Yeah, that's been awful.
The heat index is hitting 105 to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. That is putting immense strain on the local power grid. And at the exact same time, the Gulf Coast is dealing with post-Arthur flood warnings.
So you have extreme heat and extreme flooding simultaneously stressing the physical infrastructure of the South.
Yep.
And while the physical environment is buckling, the legal infrastructure that protects vulnerable populations is also facing an unprecedented stress test right now.
I want to spend some time on this, actually, because NPR reported that the Department of Justice has issued a new legal opinion challenging the 1999 Supreme Court Olmstead decision.
Which is a huge deal.
Yeah, disability rights advocates are sounding a massive alarm here. They say this new DOJ opinion threatens decades of settled civil rights law and could expose millions of disabled Americans to involuntary institutionalization.
To understand the gravity of this, we need to look at the mechanism of the original 1999 Olmstead decision.
Right. Can you give us some context on that?
Sure. Before Olmstead, it was common for individuals with mental or physical disabilities to be isolated in state-run psychiatric hospitals or institutions, even if they were capable of living in the community.
Okay.
The Supreme Court ruled that under the Americans with Disabilities Act, unjustified segregation of persons with disabilities constitutes discrimination. It legally mandated that states provide community-based services like home health aides and supported housing whenever appropriate.
Meaning institutionalization was strictly a last resort? So it fundamentally shifted state funding away from locking people away and toward integrating them into society.
Precisely. It is considered a cornerstone of disability rights. By challenging that precedent, the new DOJ opinion opens the door for states to alter how they fund those support networks.
That's a massive shift.
It is. From a purely legal and factual standpoint, advocates are expressing profound concern about the human impact. Reversing this policy could fundamentally unravel how society treats its disabled citizens, quietly stripping away their right to participate in everyday community life.
That is an incredibly heavy reality to digest. Millions of people potentially losing their independence.
Sobering.
And then, you place that heavy reality next to this other story from Washington, D.C.
Oh, the reflecting pool.
Yes. The Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool recently underwent a $14 million beautification project by President Trump. They applied this specially sourced American flag blue coating to the bottom of the pool,
Okay.
but a robust algae bloom has taken over, completely turning the pool green. So now, National Park Service workers are out there literally using vacuums to suck the algae off the bottom of the pool.
Vacuuming an algae bloom from a $14 million cosmetic project,
Mhm.
while the legal framework of the ADA is challenged down the street.
It feels like an almost painfully on-the-nose metaphor. We're deploying resources to vacuum algae off a vanity project at a national monument, while entirely ignoring the structural cracks showing up everywhere else.
Yeah.
Whether that's a 110-degree heat dome stressing the power grid, or the unraveling of decades of civil rights protections for disabled Americans.
It forces us to think critically about institutional focus, what a society chooses to fix, and what it quietly allows to degrade, tells a very clear story about its collective priorities.
It is overwhelming when you stack it all up like this. The sheer weight of global geopolitics, technological disruption, and foundational legal shifts.
It's a lot for anyone to process.
It is, but historically, when the real world gets to be too much, humanity reliably turns to one place for an escape valve. And this weekend, the sports world is delivering some truly historic spectacle.
It is the ultimate release of pressure. And commercially, that need for escapism is just booming right now.
Booming is an understatement. ESPN is reporting that the first week of the expanded 48-team World Cup 2026 has generated record profit.
Unbelievable numbers.
It has surpassed any prior international soccer tournament week in history. You've got the U.S. acting as a co-host, and superstars like Messi, Haaland, and Mbappe driving massive global viewership and sportsbook numbers.
There was a lot of debate about expanding the tournament to 48 teams, But economically, bringing in more nations and more narratives has proven to be incredibly lucrative.
Absolutely. We saw the Netherlands rout Sweden 5-1. Germany had a 2-1 comeback over Côte d'Ivoire, with Denise and Dove scoring twice.
Great matches.
But the game that really caught my eye wasn't a blowout by a massive superstar. It was a 0-0 draw between Curacao and Ecuador.
Oh, that game was something else.
Ecuador dominated. They sent wave after wave of shots at the net. But Curacao's goalkeeper, Eloy Room, delivered what people are calling one of the most extraordinary individual performances in tournament history.
It was a masterclass.
He made 13 saves. He single-handedly held off an entire national team to win Curacao their first ever World Cup point. People are comparing it to Tim Howard's legendary performance for the U.S. back in 2014.
Which is high praise.
With all the talk today about algorithms and AI taking over, there is nothing quite like the deeply human drama of one guy standing in front of a net, stopping 13 shots.
The statistical improbability of Room's performance is staggering. And it connects perfectly to why the World Cup is seeing record profits. In a world increasingly driven by optimized code, predictive algorithms, and automated outcomes, human narrative remains the most bankable commodity on Earth.
People want the story.
Exactly. People crave the unscripted, highly improbable triumph of an underdog. They crave the unpredictable friction of human endeavor.
And speaking of human endeavor under intense pressure, the U.S. Open at Shinnecock Hills is delivering its own drama right now.
Oh, absolutely.
We are heading into Father's Day Sunday, and Wyndham Clark is putting on an absolute clinic. He shot an even par 70 on Saturday, which on a punishing U.S. Open course is just fantastic.
Yeah, Shinnecock is unforgiving.
And he has built a commanding 6-shot lead.
Although Scotty Scheffler is lurking.
He is.
He shot a 1 under 69, tying for second place 5 shots back, and Scheffler has a career Grand Slam on the line. But the statistics overwhelmingly favor Clark. Historically, 20 of the 21 players who have held a 6-shot lead through 54 holes in a major championship have gone on to win.
But again, that 1 out of 21 exception is why we tune in, right?
Exactly.
The human element introduces the very real possibility of a collapse or a miraculous comeback.
The human element cannot be perfectly modeled.
So what does this all mean? We have covered so much ground today. We started by looking at the geopolitical Jenga tower in the Middle East, with ships navigating around naval mines in the Strait of Hormuz.
Which feels like a lifetime ago.
Right. Then we looked at the multi-trillion-dollar shifts in the tech world, from AI draining local water tables to retail investors hijacking SpaceX's valuation. We grounded ourselves in the harsh domestic realities of extreme weather and civil rights debates over the Olmsted decision.
Yeah.
And finally, we ended on the triumph of the human spirit in sports, with a goalie from Curacao basically stopping the world.
It's a profound mosaic. And if there is a single mechanism tying all of these diverse sources together, It is the concept of routing around obstacles.
How so?
We spent this deep dive watching systems try to bypass friction. The global oil market routing ships around Iranian naval mines. Microsoft routing digital traffic around GitHub outages. Retail investors routing around traditional institutional logic to pump up SpaceX. And AI chatbots routing around journalists to deliver news directly to the consumer.
It's human ingenuity constantly finding a backdoor.
It is. But this raises an important question for you, the listener, to explore on your own.
Let's hear it.
We are rapidly building an AI-driven world designed to optimize every process, predict every outcome, and eliminate every inefficiency. But what happens when the friction that AI is trying to route around? Well, what if it is human behavior itself?
Oh.
Our unpredictability is what makes markets volatile, what makes politics messy, and what makes sports incredibly beautiful. If the ultimate goal of our new technological infrastructure is to create a perfectly clean, predictable control room, where does the messy human Jenga tower fit in?
Wow, are we the friction? That is a brilliant question to leave off on. We started this deep dive talking about that comforting illusion of the master control room, and I think it's clear the real world is infinitely more complex, muddy, and fascinating than any control room could ever capture. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the sources today. We love unpacking this incredibly dynamic world with you. Have a fantastic rest of your weekend.